It's morning in Los Angeles and it's morning in America. I am your host, Casey Phoenix, and this is my morning political thought. Let me go ahead and get the social media and the side news stories out the way first. Social media, thepurpleelephantshow.com main podcasting platform. You can go there and listen to every single episode of the Purple Elephant Show. And also, just so you know, the Purple Elephant Show, even though the purpleelephantshow.com is the main podcasting platform, which takes you to Anchor, we are on several podcasting platforms. So if you ever want to listen to the show on Spotify, on Apple, on Google Podcasts, or on, I believe, Castbox or whatever, then definitely the Purple Elephant Show is there. You can listen pretty much however you want on several platforms, and more platforms are being added over the next few months. So that's for that. As for social media, The Purple Elephant Show, Parler, The Purple Elephant Show, Instagram, at RealTPES on Twitter, Facebook.com/ The Purple Elephant Show if you're watching this on BitChute, YouTube, or Daily Motion. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also on BitChute, when I uploaded the episode yesterday, for whatever reason, it hasn't processed yet. But I did upload an episode yesterday. If you have not seen that episode, feel free to go to YouTube or to Daily Motion and watch it there. It was about the Texas court ruling in regards to the signatures on ballots. But, and if you don't want to watch it there, then of course you can go to the purpleelephantshow.com and just listen to the podcast. All right. Now, let's get to the side news stories. I have my notes here as well. First thing that's going on, Joe Biden he's receiving a lot of money. And there is a $100 million ad blitz that's happening. The money is coming from Silicon Valley millionaires. And it's kind of interesting because everyone talks about how the parties have flip-flopped, where at first Republicans were sort of like the party of the rich, or that was the image that was portrayed of the Republicans. And the Democrats were the party of the little guy, and now it's changed, where more of the little guy, the blue collar people, middle income type people are now in the Republican Party, and that is the party of the working man, I guess you could say, and woman. So it is really interesting to me. For this, though, it says, and I have this here, Vox's Rico reported Tuesday that Super PAC Future Forward will saturate the media landscape as the election showdown comes to a head. The barrage of late money, which includes at least $22 million from Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz, figures among one of the most expensive and aggressive plays yet by tech billionaires, the website reported. So, and don't forget, Bloomberg also spent tons of money in Florida, but this is another example of things not going as planned. Yes, money helps. Yes, money gets you seen, but money does not guarantee that you will get elected. In the previous election in 2016, Hillary Clinton outspent President Trump, but President Trump still won. Also, President Trump is very good at controlling the media cycle. He knows how to get them to cover him. And when you can get media coverage, good, bad, or indifferent, you can suck up and soak up all of the attention from all other parties. And that has always been one of President Trump's advantages. Now, with Florida, President Trump is ahead right now. I forgot the name of that poll, but it's one of the most accurate polls. The guy was on Hannity last night. Him being ahead in Florida does not surprise me. I mentioned this before during my show. When President Trump was running in the Republican primary, he beat a former Florida governor and a sitting Florida senator in the Republican primary when they had the votes for Florida. So that in itself should let you know that President Trump's support in Florida is ridiculously off the charts. And with everything that's happened, people are chomping at the bit, ready to vote for the president. So, regardless if Mike Bloomberg spends $10 million, $50 million, or $100 million in Florida, regardless if he pays off the fines of felons so they can vote. And I'm not saying it's a guaranteed thing. What I'm saying is, don't be surprised if President Trump wins Florida. His support in Florida is off the charts. Money doesn't mean everything. And with these tech people doing this $100 million of spending, it's whatever. And speaking of polls, I want to go to something else with another side news story. And I'm sure some of you have already heard about this, but I want to dig a little bit more into it. There's a poll now on Amy Coney Barrett in regards to the Supreme Court justice seat. She's filling it for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for those of you who have been under a rock for the past few weeks. All right. The poll was taken by Gallup. The poll says a majority now back Barrett. 51% of Americans back her nomination. Beforehand, with all of the media and all of the negative coverage, everybody was like, don't fill the seat, don't fill the seat, don't fill the seat. And they had this negative image of her. So after she went through the whole Senate process, which I still don't agree with, even though I think it did help her. Now that people have seen her, 51% of the people favor her being confirmed to the seat. In addition to that, 46% are opposed. Now, the thing that is jumping out here for me, and I little things jump out at me sometimes, just little things. The little thing that jumped out at me was 3% not having an opinion. I don't believe that. I really don't. I don't believe that 3%, if it was something like, do you prefer Cheerios over Fruit Loops? Or, do you prefer shopping at Whole Foods over Ralph's? Or something like that. People like, I don't have an opinion about that. We're talking about the Supreme Court of the United States. Everyone will have an opinion, even if they just find out about it. They're going to find out, oh, well, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. And this is who the president wants to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg or fill Ruth Bader Ginsburg's empty seat with. They're going to have an opinion. Good, bad, or indifferent. They're going to have an opinion. Well, indifferent is more like not having an opinion, but good or bad, they will have an opinion when it comes to something as major as the Supreme Court. My spidey sense is going off. This is what I believe, and this is just me. I believe that those 3% are part of that 3%, if not a majority of that 3%, fall into that category where they don't want to be judged. Because if someone says they support her filling the seat, then one could almost interpret, the way people jump to conclusions, that they support President Trump. And of course, with the environment being as polarized as it is, they don't want to let people know that they agree with the president's pick. So they're like, oh, Amy Coney Barrett, I don't know her. Well, I don't have an opinion. I don't have an opinion. That is what I feel is the case. Now, with her approval being at 51% now, and opposed is 46%. Do you see where I'm going with this? Even though this wasn't a poll saying, do you support the president or do you not support the president? Regardless, this is still tied to President Trump. This is his nominee. She's feeling, obviously, President Trump will nominate someone who leans a certain way, meaning she leans on the side of being a constitutionalist versus altering the law. So with this particular poll, again, I kind of feel like everything, the stars are aligning, even though I already had a premonition that President Trump would win. But this is just another example in my eyes that the stars are aligning for President Trump to win. Because 51% were willing to say yes, they support her, knowing she's affiliated with President Trump, knowing that President Trump picked her, knowing that she will more than likely rule as a constitutionalist. 3% were undecided. They didn't have an opinion. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. So that was interesting to me. All right. Another thing that is going on is universities are underreporting receiving foreign funding. You think? So this is what the deal is. The Education Department released the report amid its efforts to enforce a 1986 law requiring U.S. universities to disclose gifts and contracts of $250,000 or more from foreign sources. Now, there is an investigation going on right now into 12 schools. Some of those schools are Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Georgetown. So we're talking about Ivy League schools here. In addition to that, the funding has been coming from China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. Some people say Qatar, but it's Qatar. This goes back to what I was talking about earlier when I said a few days ago when I was talking about politicians and selling out the country, where patriotism should override greed. This is another example of that. And I hope that whatever is found, and I'm hoping, because all we can do is hope sometimes. I'm hoping that when all of this has passed, and by all of this I mean the election and everything, that President Trump has a Republican House, a Republican Senate. He kicks out FBI Director Christopher Wray because Christopher Wray is garbage, and I've never hid how I feel about Christopher Wray. Christopher Wray is complete garbage, and if President Trump is reelected to a second term, Christopher Wray needs to be fired because, for some of you already know, the FBI knew what was going on with that laptop years beforehand. They knew what was going on with Hunter Biden years beforehand, and that information could have exonerated the president in other things, and the FBI sat on it. And Christopher Wray is the head of the FBI. Something could have been said, something could have been done. And there's other things he's been doing in regards to fighting declassification with basically redacting everything, saying that it's national security, yada, 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 and all types of stuff when it comes to submitting documents to Congress. So, yeah, Christopher Wray is garbage. But I digress. One thing I'm hoping for is all the stars will align. And we can get rid of all of these corrupt, unpatriotic people that have infiltrated our government, our education system, our health system as well, because there are people who have politicized the health system too, when it comes to the CDC and things like that, where we can just extract all of these people with nefarious intentions. That is my hope, and get back to what the country should be and focusing on the country itself and not bringing people into positions of power that are willing to sell out just to make money. Money is great. We all love money. I love money. I'm a card-carrying capitalist, and I will be until the day I die. However, country comes first. Country always comes first. And I'm not talking about just the United States. because I know I have listeners all over the world for my podcast. If you're listening in Canada, if you're listening in Ireland, if you're listening in France, I'm thinking of my listeners when I look at the analytics. Any country that you're in, not just the United States, you should always put your country first. You should always put your country first. You should never be willing to sell your country out just to get rich, just to enrich yourself. That's not right. Even if your country is a corrupt country, your country still comes first. And if there is corruption, just like there's corruption in the United States, you do what you can to call out that corruption and get that corruption out of the system. So country should always come first. And these universities that are accepting money from all these foreign entities, these countries, knowing that these countries have nefarious reasons for giving the money. One of the reasons that, like I'll say China, for instance, one of the reasons that China donates money to all these Ivy League schools is so it's easier to get their spies or students, if you want to call them, into these universities. When they get into the universities or into the programs at the universities, like MIT and stuff like that, they can then take secrets when it comes to technology and other things and bring that back to China. Because that's what they do. China steals. The government of China, not the people of China. Because people of China, Chinese Communist Party, two totally separate things. But it just amazes me how quick people sell out and sell out their country. But that's my thought on that. They're cracking down on it. This isn't anything new with universities trying to underreport. Next thing. Now, some people may disagree with me on this. This is in regards to voting after someone has passed away. Someone mails in a ballot, but they die after they voted. In some states, they don't count it. As a matter of fact, in 17 states, they don't count the vote. If someone dies after the vote has been mailed off, they don't count it in 17 states. I don't know the 17 states off the top of my head. It's just I pulled from the article. If you want to know the 17 states, there's this thing called the internet. It's a beautiful thing. Do your research. And then there are 10 states that do allow it, where if they mail off the ballot and they happen to die after it's been mailed off, they still count it. And some people may not agree with me on this. I think the ballot should be counted. I do. As long as it can be proven that the ballot was mailed off before they died. Meaning today's October the 21st. All right. So if they mailed it off on October the 21st and then they die on October the 25th, and it can be proven that they definitely mailed it off on October the 21st, but they died on October the 25th. I think that ballot should count. And I think that should be across all states. I don't think, because like I said, 17 states prohibit this, but I think that and only 10 states allow it. I think all states should allow that. If you're mailing in a ballot absentee and you cast your vote, it should count. You were alive when you cast your vote. And if it can be proven that you mailed it on that date before you died, if it can be proven, because honestly, when it comes to voting, personally, in my eyes, I would overhaul the entire voting system. I would switch to a more biometric fingerprint system. Fingerprint with mail-in voting, which can be done. Technologically, it can be done. I know some people are like, can that be done? Yes, it can be done. Like I mentioned in one of my episodes, it was China, United States, and Revolution is the title of the episode, I think, or United States China Revolution or something like that. Because I've done over 100 episodes. In that episode, one thing I mentioned is that when it comes to technology, the world in general is about 100 to 200 years behind where it should be in technology. It just is. There are a lot of things that can be done and that should be done that have not been done yet on a technological and also on a medical level when it comes to advancement. There are things that we deal with in life in the world today that as a human race that has evolved over the years, we should not have to deal with. We just shouldn't. And humanity is going to have to step its game up. But as for voting, I believe that the system should be overhauled and switched more to biometrics, where people it's harder to cheat the system. And it can be done. Would the overhaul be intense? It would be very intense. But it's possible. It's very possible. So yeah, but as for the voting, if it can be proven that they voted before they died, then I say count the votes. And I say that for all the states, across all 50 states and territories. So yeah. All right. Other side news story. Nancy Pelosi has changed her mind on the deadline. I guess Nancy Pelosi is trying to pull a President Trump with Art of the Deal. All I can do is shake my head. Now, the deadline has moved. I'll just read a brief part of this. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin still don't have a stimulus deal, but the California Democrat eased off her Tuesday deadline in hopes of reaching a deal with the White House by the end of the week. So basically, we've moved from Tuesday to the end of the week. First, she was saying, oh, well, you have 48 hours. Now she's like, oh, well, you have the end of the week. Like I've been saying this for the past 2 days. If something happens, I will be surprised. If it does, great. If it doesn't, what else can we say? So now we're moving to the end of the week. They're going to go back and forth on this. She doesn't want to give the president a win. The president doesn't want to bail out cities and states that have mismanaged funds, which he shouldn't. I live in one of them. That's where we are. I don't see where else this is going to go. It's just going to be back and forth. I won't believe anything until I see it. All right. Now, let's get to the main story, which I love this. My morning political thought. The Tea Party group plans to sue Twitter. And that's what I'm saying. I keep on telling people, not only do you create platforms like Parler, which if you're not on Parler, get on Parler. It's really cool. They're constantly updating the site. I enjoy Parler. I don't use it that much. I mostly use Parler to post the shows. I post the podcast version and I post the YouTube version. And I may start posting the BitChute version if BitChute starts providing the link a little bit quicker, because I work with time constraints when I do this stuff. But that it needs to be a multi-pronged approach. Create more companies to compete with these tech companies, to break up the technocracy, as I call it, because that's what this is. It's a technocracy where everything is being controlled by the tech companies. What happened to the New York Post should have never happened to the New York Post. And I'm glad that people are finally stepping up and seeing what an issue this is. And I think what happened to the New York Post lit a fire under certain people that were kind of about it and just riding the wave. And now they're going to try to navigate the wave. So I'm happy about that. But as for the Tea Party, let me read this article. It's not that long. Tea Party Patriots Foundation said Tuesday it was filing a complaint with the Federal Elections Commission against Twitter, accusing the social media company of violating campaign finance laws through its treatment of bad news for Democratic presidential nominee Joe R. Biden. Jenny Beth Martin, TPPF president, said in a statement she believes Twitter has used corporate resources well in excess of $25,000 in their ongoing efforts to support the Biden candidacy while opposing President Trump's reelection. TPPF said its complaint focuses squarely on Twitter. On Twitter is CEO Jack Dorsey and Twitter Vice President Brandon Borman. Twitter and its executives, Dorsey and Borman, are knowingly and willfully using the resources of their multi-billion-dollar corporate leviathan to assist and promote Biden, while at the same time, and for several months now, disseminating negative stories about President Trump and challenging and blocking and undermining information from and by President Trump, Mrs. Martin said in a statement. Federal law prohibits corporations from using their treasury funds and corporate resources in support of or opposition to federal candidates. Twitter's conduct is in blatant disregard of federal law. And that's the article. And that is true. Because if anybody remembers that story about what President Trump said about the troops, and then later, it was from The Atlantic, and then later The Atlantic was like, well, our sources are now saying that maybe it wasn't the troops that he was talking about, and maybe it wasn't him who said it, and all this other stuff. And then they started doing this song and dance, is what they started doing. Then there was something about, I believe, Eric Trump trending with Eric Trump in Ukraine on Twitter, and all types of other stuff. That was allowed to be posted on Twitter. But when it comes to what the New York Post had, which we have the receipts, that's the whole thing. They keep on like, well, it's not verified. No, it's verified. We have the receipts. We have the laptop. The laptop's with the FBI. Even though Rudy Giuliani gave the laptop to the FBI, I wouldn't have given the laptop to the FBI. I would have made a copy of everything and then gave it to the FBI, just in case. Because right now, with Christopher Wray, you already know how I feel about Christopher Wray. I already said so at the beginning of this podcast. I don't trust him, but that's just me. But as for Twitter, they allow all of these other stories that are not verified to come out against the president. But when it comes to this particular thing, that is verified. The receipts are there. There's plenty of things to verify this in regards to Hunter Biden. Not that I really care. I haven't really cared about Hunter Biden because, and that's the other thing with this Hunter Biden situation with everybody on all sides, with Republicans and Democrats. Democrats are saying, oh, well, it's Russian propaganda. The Russians didn't have anything to do with this. Russia has received way too much spotlight lately in general. Russia didn't have anything to do with this. And Ratcliffe, who is the director of national intelligence, said Russia didn't have anything to do with this. The director of national intelligence sees more intelligence than anybody except the president of the United States. So that's one thing. The other thing is when it comes to what has happened, it's all been verified. The person who had the laptop, I call him the shopkeeper, the tech person, whatever, where the laptop was dropped off at, that was verification. There were other people around Hunter Biden's circle that verified this, but I don't care about it because with Republicans, Democrats, Republicans are saying, yeah, no, it's horrible, and Democrats are saying it's Russian disinformation. All of them are acting shocked, but all of them do this in politics, enriching themselves, having deals. There's a book by, what is his name? I want to say Peter Schweitzer. I'm doing this from memory. I want to say Peter Schweitzer is his name. There's a book called Secret Empires, and he calls out Republicans and Democrats. All of these people, all of these politicians on all sides are doing this stuff. They're enriching themselves because they don't have any real world skills. They couldn't make it. They can't make it in the real world. So all of them, all is broad. A lot of them are corrupt. A lot of them. A lot of Republicans are corrupt. A lot of Democrats are corrupt. A lot of people who are bureaucrats within agencies are corrupt. It's just, that is how it is. And those are the people that need to be removed. But that's one reason why I haven't really cared about the Hunter Biden thing, because it just, this isn't new. Just like with Hillary Clinton and what the Clinton Foundation did to Haiti. Look that up sometime. That's why a lot of Haitian people can't stand Hillary Clinton. Look up what the Clinton Foundation and the Clintons did to Haiti. That was a mess. And Haiti is one of the poorest countries, if not the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And they were taken advantage of. Do your research on that. I'm not even going to go into it in this episode, but trust me, the information is out there. Just do your research. There's a lot of people in Haiti that cannot stand the Clintons. So, and that's just one of the things. I'm not even talking about all the other stuff that goes on in the Middle East. When we fight all of these wars and we're over there doing all of these things, a lot of politicians make money from these wars. That's one of the reasons why a lot of the politicians come out against the president when he's like, let's get out of these places. And they're like, no, we need to have a presence there. We need to have this there. We need to have that there. No, they want to have their money train. They want to have their money train going. That's what that is, their gravy train. That's what all of that's about. It's all about money. So that's what I have to say about that. As for Twitter, though, I'm glad they're being sued. I'm glad, I mentioned yesterday that the DOJ filed an antitrust lawsuit against Google. I don't think they're going to win it, even though usually when the feds file something, they have a high 90% accuracy when it comes to them winning their cases because they have resources. But I don't, based off of the little bit of stuff that I read, I don't think it's a federal case that's winnable. Now, if they would have done, if they're approaching it from the thing of their Google's algorithm and how they manipulate their algorithm to accommodate certain parties over other parties, they have a case there. That's the case. That's easily winnable. But when it comes to, oh, well, Google's big, or, oh, well, Google requires Android to use the Google app for search and all this other stuff, that's not. Google is Android, Android is Google. And for people who know about tech, they already know this. That's a given. Google is the reason that Android exists. So, and for me, you may not agree with what I'm saying, but I'm fair. I call things for what they are. I don't say what I believe people want to hear. I say what I believe. And that's what you'll always get from me. But yeah, as for Twitter, I'm happy. I don't know where it'll go. I'll look forward to more lawsuits coming, but I'm looking forward to Section 230. Once Section 230 is addressed, that is when everything will be on the up and up. And that more than likely won't be addressed until 2021, and certain stars will have to align for that to be addressed in 2021. All right, so that's all I have for my morning political thought. Thank you, everyone, for following the show, for sharing the show, for liking the show, for listening to the show, for all of your support. It always means more to me than you will ever know. ThePurpleElephantShow.com, main podcasting platform. The Purple Elephant Show on Parler, on Instagram, Facebook.com/The Purple Elephant Show. If you're watching this on BitChute, YouTube, Daily Motion, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, followed by the notification bell. On Twitter, @RealTPES. Until next time, be blessed.